you eat till to the barrel! I built this echo! I built this! I am the anointed!
The truth doesn't need a miracle to stop your hurt.
African Karma Stories.
Nairobi never truly sleeps, but at 2 in the morning, the Westlands district comes close to a standstill. The heavy iron gates of the Bread of Life ministry do not creak. They are well-oiled, maintained by a budget that could pave the roads of an entire slum. Njeri moves through the shadows of the courtyard, her breath hitching in the cold, thin air of the highlands. She isn't here to pray. She is here because the math doesn't make sense. In the center of the darkened sanctuary stands the widow's barrel. It is a massive, hand-carved masterpiece of mahogany, standing 6 feet tall, draped in heavy purple silk. According to Pastor Elias Mbeki, this barrel is a supernatural portal. He tells the congregation that as long as they pour their first fruits into it, their bags of maize, their bundles of sukuma wiki, and their hard-earned shillings, the barrel will never be empty. It is the spiritual insurance policy for the city's most vulnerable. Njeri reaches the barrel. She looks around the empty pews, the moonlight catching the gold-plated altar. She raises the knuckles and taps the side of the wood, halfway down. The sound that returns isn't the dull, heavy thud of packed grain or the muffled rustle of paper currency. It is a sharp, metallic ring. It is the sound of a hollow chamber. She taps lower, near the base. The echo is the same. The barrel isn't full. It isn't even half full. It is a cavern of empty air. Her heart hammers against her ribs like a trapped bird. She reaches for the heavy lid, breaking the consecrated wax seal that no one is supposed to touch. The lid is heavy, but as it swings open, the smell that hits her isn't the scent of fresh harvest. It is the smell of old dust and industrial floor cleaner. She shines her phone light inside. The light travels down 5 feet, hitting a false floor made of polished plywood. There is nothing there. No grain for Mama Zipporah. No money for the orphan's school fees. But as the beam of her light sweeps the corner of the false bottom, it catches a small, white slip of paper. Njeri reaches in, her fingers trembling. It's a thermal receipt from a luxury boutique in the CBD. The date is from yesterday. The amount is more than a year's salary for a teacher. And the name at the bottom of the credit card slip is Elias Mbeki. By 10 o'clock Sunday morning, the air in Westlands is thick with the smell of expensive cologne and exhaust fumes from a fleet of German-engineered SUVs. The Bread of Life ministry is no longer a dark warehouse of secrets. It is a theater of power. Pastor Elias Mbeki steps out of a charcoal-gray Range Rover, his suit a shimmering shade of slate that seems to catch the sun. He doesn't walk. He glides, flanked by 2 men in dark glasses who look more like nightclub bouncers than deacons. On his lapel, a perfectly folded square of purple silk matches the ribbons on the widow's barrel. Inside the sanctuary, the air conditioning hums, a rare luxury in a city where the heat can be a physical weight. Njeri stands at the back, her eyes burning from lack of sleep. She watches as the ushers move through the aisles with velvet bags. They don't just take what people give. They lean in, whispering about planting seeds and breaking the spirit of poverty. Near the front row sits Mama Zipporah. She is 68 years old, her back curved like a question mark from decades of washing clothes by hand. Her hands, calloused and thin, clutch a small plastic bag containing 2 cups of rice, her last food for the week. She stands with effort, walking to the barrel with the reverence of a pilgrim. She pours the rice in, watching it disappear into the dark mouth of the mahogany vessel. She whispers a prayer, her eyes closed, believing that this sacrifice is the only thing standing between her and the street. From the pulpit, Elias's voice booms, a rich, melodic baritone that vibrates in the floorboards. He speaks of abundance. He speaks of a God who hates small thinking. He points to the barrel and declares it a fountain of life, claiming that tomorrow, a dozen families will receive their monthly rations from this very spot. The congregation roars in approval. They see a man of God. Njeri sees a predator in a bespoke suit. She looks at the receipt folded in her pocket, then back at the pastor's wrist. There it is, the watch. A gold-rimmed masterpiece that matches the timestamp on the paper in her pocket. The shepherd isn't feeding the sheep. He is wearing them. As the service ends and the music swells, Njeri notices something she missed before. A small purple thread is caught in the hinge of the pastor's private vestry door. It's the same silk used for the beryl seal. The path between the holy offerings and the pastor's private world is shorter than anyone realizes. The office of the Bread of Life Ministry is a fortress of glass and silence. Njeri sits at a small desk near the filing cabinets, her hands moving over a keyboard, but her mind is miles away. As a volunteer accountant, she is supposed to track the spiritual growth of the ministry, which is a polite way of saying she records how much money is coming in. But the money never seems to go out. Every time she asks Silas, the head treasurer, about the distribution logs for the widows, he suddenly finds a reason to be elsewhere. Silas is a man made of nervous tics and expensive ties. He spends his afternoons staring at a spreadsheet that never seems to balance, his forehead permanently damp with sweat. Njeri decides to play a different game. She waits until Silas goes for his lunch break, always 90 minutes at a high-end bistro, and then she moves. She doesn't go for the digital files first. She goes for the trash. In the bottom of a bin in the vestry, she finds a discarded purple ribbon. It's high-quality silk, the kind you can't buy at a local market. She turns it over in her hand and finds a small, white tag stitched into the seam. Vittorio's Tailors, River Road. She knows River Road. It's the heart of the city's hustle, a place where you can get anything made, legal or otherwise. That afternoon, she takes a matatu down to the crowded streets of the CBD. Vittorio's is a tiny, cramped shop smelling of steam and wool. The tailor, an old man with spectacles thick as bottle glass, recognizes the ribbon immediately. He smiles, thinking Njeri is a messenger. He tells her the pastor is his best client. He doesn't just buy suits. He buys hundreds of yards of this specific purple silk every month. Why would a pastor need hundreds of yards of silk for a single barrel? The tailor shrugs. He says it's for sanctified packaging. He wants every bag of grain to be sealed with it, even if the bags are only going to the warehouse. Njeri's blood runs cold. If the grain is being packaged and sealed, why is the warehouse in Westlands empty? Why did she find a hollow barrel? She realizes then that the distribution isn't happening at the church. There is a second location. A place where the silk is used not to bless the food, but to hide what's inside it. She returns to the office and waits. When Silas returns, he is pale. He looks at Njeri, then at the ledger on her desk. For a second, their eyes meet, and she sees it, the pure, unadulterated terror of a man who knows the roof is about to fall in. The air in the sanctuary on Wednesday night is stifling. Pastor Elias has called for an emergency sacrificial fast. He stands on the stage, his forehead dry despite the heat, looking as polished as a new coin. He tells the people that the Widows' Fund is facing a demonic attack from the bank, and that the only way to release the funds is for the congregation to give even more. If you eat today, he shouts, you are stealing from the widows. Give the cost of your meal to the barrel. Njeri stands near the side door, watching the desperation in the room. People are emptying their pockets of coins they need for bus fare. In the middle of the third row, Mama Zipporah is swaying. Her face is a grayish pallor, her lips dry and cracked. She hasn't eaten in 48 hours, following the pastor's spiritual directive. Suddenly, the music reaches a crescendo, and Zipporah's eyes roll back. She collapses, her head hitting the wooden pew with a sickening thud. The room goes silent for a heartbeat. Njeri starts to rush forward, but Elias is faster. He grabs the microphone. Do not be afraid, he bellows. This is a manifestation. The hunger is leaving her. The spirit is moving. He uses the moment of her physical collapse to ignite a frenzy. He tells the people that her sacrifice has triggered a breakthrough. While the ushers carry a semi-conscious Zipporah to the back, the people begin to rain money toward the altar. It is a masterclass in manipulation. But Njeri doesn't stay for the healing. She slips into the back room where they've laid Zipporah on a plastic couch. The old woman is shivering, whispering about bread. Njeri reaches into her own bag to give her a piece of fruit, but her hand brushes against a piece of paper on the side table. An invoice that was delivered just before the service. It's from a 5-star private catering firm. It's a bill for a private pastoral reflection dinner scheduled for tonight at 10 p.m. The menu lists Kobe beef, lobster tails, and imported champagne. The delivery address isn't the church. It's a private residence in the hills of Methega. The cost of the dinner alone would feed Zipporah and 50 other widows for a month. This is pattern interrupt 1. The contradiction is no longer just a suspicion. It's a physical reality. The pastor is preaching hunger while he prepares for a feast. As Njeri helps Zipporah sip some water, Silas enters the room. He sees the invoice in Njeri's hand. He looks at Zipporah's frail form, then back at the paper. His hands are shaking so violently he has to tuck them into his pockets. "You shouldn't have seen that," he whispers, his voice cracking. It's for a meeting with international donors. It's for the work." Njeri looks him dead in the eye. "She's starving, Silas. And he's eating lobster. Is that the work?" Silas doesn't answer. He turns and bolts out the door, leaving the smell of fear in his wake. The next morning, the Bread of Life social media page is booming. Brenda, the church's social media manager, is a whirlwind of energy and ring lights. She is currently directing a distribution reel in the church parking lot. 3 massive trucks are backed up to the warehouse doors. Brenda is positioning Elias in front of the cameras, a bag of maize slung over his shoulder. He looks like a hero. He looks like a saint. "Action!" Brenda shouts. Elias walks toward a group of women, smiling broadly, handing them the bags. The women weep and thank him, their voices perfectly captured by the high-end microphones. But Njeri, watching from the upstairs window, notices something odd. She knows these women. They aren't the widows from the congregation. They are Brenda's cousins and a few hired extras from a local acting troupe. They are well-fed, their skin glowing under the Nairobi sun. The real widows, like Mama Zipporah, are being held behind a locked gate at the far end of the property, told that the official distribution will start once the media partners are finished. Njeri grabs her phone and slips out the back. She moves toward the trucks that are supposedly full of grain. The back of the nearest truck is open. She sees the stacks of bags, all neatly tied with the signature purple silk ribbon. She reaches out and grabs the corner of one. It's heavy, unusually heavy for a bag of maize. She pulls a small pocket knife from her bag and makes a tiny slit in the bottom of the sack. A stream of fine, gray sand pours out. She moves to the next bag. More sand. The top 3 inches of the bag are filled with real grain, just enough to fool someone reaching in, but the rest is dead weight. This is the digital mirage. They are filming a miracle that consists of sand and actors. Brenda is shouting instructions, telling the widows to look more grateful. Njeri snaps a series of high-resolution photos. The sand pouring from the bag, the actors laughing between takes, and the real widows staring through the gate like prisoners. Suddenly, a shadow falls over her. It's Kamau, the warehouse security guard. He's a big man, his uniform tight across his chest. Njeri freezes, expecting him to seize her phone. But Kamau doesn't move. He looks at the sand on the ground, then at the camera crew in the distance. "They've been doing this for 2 years, he says, his voice a low rumble. The trucks arrive full of sand from the river, and they leave empty. The grain, the real grain, never even comes here. It goes to a private silo in the CBD. He looks at Njeri, his eyes hard. "You want to see where the money really goes? Follow the purple trucks tonight at midnight." Midnight in Westlands is a symphony of barking dogs and distant sirens. Njeri is back in the accounting office, the only light in the room coming from the blue glow of Silas's computer monitor. She had watched him type his password a dozen times over the last month, memorizing the rhythm of his fingers.
Mbeki 777.
Simple, arrogant. The files are a labyrinth of deception. She finds the widow's list, a directory of over 200 names of women who supposedly receive monthly stipends. But as she cross-references the names with the National ID Registry, the truth emerges. These aren't people. They are ghosts. Half the IDs belong to people who died years ago. The other half don't exist at all. Each ghost has a bank account attached to it. Njeri follows the digital trail of one account, then another, then 10 more. They all lead to the same destination, a holding company called the Zip Aura Foundation. It sounds charitable, sounds holy, but as Njeri digs deeper into the corporate filings, she finds the real assets of the Zip Aura Foundation. It doesn't own grain elevators or schools. It owns a penthouse in Lekki, Nigeria. It owns a fleet of luxury cars. It owns a beach house in Mombasa. The Widow's Fund is nothing more than a personal ATM for Elias and his family. The scale of the theft is staggering. Over 400 million Kenyan shillings diverted in the last 24 months alone. The door to the office creaks open. Njeri slams the laptop shut, her heart jumping into her throat. Silas stands in the doorway, his tie undone, a bottle of cheap gin in his hand. He doesn't look like a powerful treasurer anymore. He looks like a broken man. He walks to his desk and sinks into the chair, ignoring Njeri for a long moment. "I wanted to be a real accountant," he says to the empty room. "I wanted to build things. But once you take the first payment, the pastor never lets you go." He has photos, Njeri. He has records of everything I've done. He looks at her, and for the first time, she sees the moisture in his eyes. He's not crying for the widows. He's crying for his lost soul. "The CBD warehouse," he whispers, sliding a heavy brass key across the desk. "Industrial area, gate 4. That's where he keeps the excess. It's not grain, Njeri. It's the life he stole." "Why are you giving me this?" she asks, her voice barely a whisper. Silas takes a long pull from the bottle. "Because I saw Mama Zip Aura's face when she fell. And I realized that when I die, I don't want that to be the last thing I remember." He stands up, swaying slightly. "Go now, before the morning shift. If you're caught, I'll deny I ever saw you." Njeri grabs the key. It's cold and heavy, the literal key to the kingdom of lies. She leaves Silas in the blue light, a man surrounded by the ghosts of the women he helped rob. The industrial area of Nairobi is a graveyard of rusted iron and corrugated steel. Njeri stands before gate 4, the brass key fitting perfectly into the heavy padlock. The air here smells of diesel and stagnant water. As the door rolls up with a protesting screech, she expects to find bags of grain or crates of Bibles. Instead, she finds an altar to vanity. This is pattern interrupt 2. The warehouse is climate-controlled, the air crisp and expensive. Under the high-intensity LED lights sit 6 Range Rovers, their paint jobs gleaming like wet ink. Beside them are stacks of wooden crates. Njeri pries one open with a crowbar she found near the entrance. It's not food. It's cognac, thousands of bottles of it, each one costing more than a widow's monthly rent. But the most damning evidence is in the back office. She finds a heavy oak desk covered in what looks like art supplies. But they aren't for painting. There are dozens of rubber molds and carved potatoes. She picks one up. It's a perfect replica of the official stamp for the National Bank of Kenya. Beside it is another for the Revenue Authority. This is how he did it. This is how he fooled the church board and the auditors. He wasn't just stealing money. He was manufacturing the evidence of his own honesty. He would print out fake bank statements and use these potato stamps to validate them. She finds the real bank books hidden in a floor safe that Silas's key also opens. The deposit gaps are craters in the ministry's soul. On the days Elias claimed to have deposited millions for food relief, the books show withdrawals for interior design and jewelry maintenance. She finds a ledger that tracks the 730 days of abundance, the 2-year period where Elias claimed the barrel was supernaturally filling itself. In reality, that was the exact date he stopped buying grain entirely and started buying the potato stamps. Njeri spends the next 3 hours photographing every document, every car, and every fake stamp. She sends the files to a cloud drive and CC's lawyer Gathoni and Detective Odiambo of the DCI. Her hands are steady now. The fear has been replaced by a cold, hard clarity. She realizes that Elias didn't just break the law, he weaponized hope. As she turns to leave, a security light sweeps across the floor. She ducks behind a Range Rover, her heart racing. A figure moves through the warehouse. It's Kamau, the guard from the church. He's holding a flashlight, but he's not looking for an intruder. He's carrying a stack of files. He stops at the desk, adds his files to the pile Njeri has already photographed, and looks toward the shadows where she's hiding. "I have the truck logs," he says quietly. "Every empty delivery for the last 2 years. It's all here. Now get out. The DCI is moving at dawn." Sunday morning at the Bread of Life Ministry feels different. There is a tension in the air, a static charge that makes the skin prickle. It is the grand opening of the Harvest Barrel, a special event where Elias has promised that the barrel will overflow with miraculous gold for the faithful. The sanctuary is packed to the rafters. Brenda is darting around with 3 camera crews, ensuring the lighting is perfect for the live stream. Pastor Elias takes the stage, his suit a blinding, pristine white today. He looks like an angel of light. "Today," he cries, his voice echoing through the massive speakers. "We prove that God provides. We tip the barrel, and we see the abundance." He moves toward the mahogany vessel, his hands raised in triumph. The crowd is on its feet, a sea of hands reaching toward the ceiling. "Stop!" The word isn't loud, but it cuts through the music like a blade. Njeri is standing in the center aisle, her phone connected to the church's massive LED screens. Before the tech team can react, she hits play. The screens, which usually show Bible verses and lyrics, suddenly fill with the image of the potato stamps. Then the catering invoice for Kobe beef. Then the sand pouring out of the blessed bags. The silence that falls over the room is absolute. It is the sound of 5,000 hearts breaking at once. Elias freezes, his hand still on the lid of the barrel. "This is a demonic attack," he screams, but his voice is thin, stripped of its power. "She is a liar, a plant from the enemy." But then, the heavy double doors at the back of the sanctuary swing open. Detective Odhiambo and 20 uniformed officers march down the aisle. At the same time, Lawyer Gathoni stands up from the front row, holding a stack of public filings. "Pastor Elias Mbeki." Odhiambo's voice is a gravelly roar. "You are under arrest for grand larceny, forgery, and organized financial fraud." Elias tries to run toward the vestry, but Kamau, the security guard, is already there, blocking the path. The pastor turns back to the congregation, his face twisted in a mask of rage. "You owe me," he shrieks at the people. "I built this. I am the anointed." The crowd doesn't move. They just watch. Detective Odhiambo reaches the barrel. He doesn't pray over it. He grabs the edge and heaves. The massive mahogany vessel, the symbol of their faith, tips over. It doesn't overflow with grain. It doesn't rain gold. A few handfuls of dusty gravel and a scattering of sand spill onto the marble floor. The false bottom clatters out, revealing the hollow interior. The cry that goes up from the congregation is not a cheer. It is a wail of grief. Mama Zipporah stands at the front, looking at the empty wood, then at the man in the white suit. The police lead Elias away in handcuffs. As he passes the barrel, his foot catches on a piece of gravel, and his purple pocket square falls into the dust, trampled by the boots of the officers. The golden shepherd is gone, leaving behind only the hollow ring of his own lies. The Monday after the arrest, the Bread of Life Ministry is a crime scene, but it feels more like a hospital. The yellow police tape flutters in the breeze, but inside the gates, something miraculous is actually happening. It is pattern interrupt 3. For exactly 730 days, the barrel had been empty. But today, a different kind of truck is backed up to the warehouse. These aren't the purple trucks of Elias's fleet. These are plain, white lorries from a local agricultural cooperative. Lawyer Gathoni and Njeri stand at the loading dock, clipboards in hand. With Elias's personal accounts frozen and the Zipporah Foundation assets being liquidated by the state, the first wave of real relief has been funded. Silas, who is currently cooperating with the DCI to avoid a 20-year sentence, sits in the office, his hands finally steady as he processes real invoices for real food. Is it enough? Njeri asks, watching as the heavy sacks are unloaded. It's a start, Gathoni replies. It will take years to recover what he stole, but for today, no one goes home hungry. Mama Zipporah is the first in line. She doesn't have to walk to a mahogany barrel today. She sits in a comfortable chair in the courtyard while two young volunteers, real ones, bring a sack of maize and a crate of fresh vegetables to her feet. She reaches out and touches the grain. It's cool, heavy, and real. She doesn't pray for a miracle this time. She just looks at Njeri and nods, a single tear carving a path through the dust on her cheek. The miracle barrel has been moved to a small room near the entrance. It won't be destroyed. It will stay there as a permanent exhibit, the false bottom exposed for everyone to see. It is a reminder that the most dangerous lies are the ones wrapped in silk and scripture. Njeri walks through the empty sanctuary. The gold-plated altar is gone, seized as evidence. The air conditioning is off, and the windows are open, letting in the real smells of Nairobi. The dust, the jasmine, and the sound of the city moving forward. She realizes that the church was never the building or the man in the suit. It was the people who were willing to give their last cup of rice, and the one person who was brave enough to make sure it actually reached the bowl. As the sun sets over Westlands, the first real harvest is finally complete. The hunger is still there, but the silence is finally broken. The Bread of Life ministry has been renamed. It is now simply the table. There is no lead pastor, no anointed superstar, and certainly no purple silk. The organization is now run by a board of 7 elders, 5 of whom are widows from the original congregation, including Mama Zipporah. Every shilling that comes in is tracked on a public ledger, accessible by a QR code printed on the back of every pew. Transparency isn't just a policy, it's the new theology. Njeri stands on the balcony of the office, looking down at the courtyard. She is the head accountant now, a paid position with a clear mandate. Keep the barrel full, and keep the books open. She watches as a young man scans the ledger code, nodding as he sees exactly where his donation went this morning. The story of Elias Mbeki has become a cautionary tale in Nairobi. His potato stamps are now used in law schools to teach students about the mechanics of fraud. But the real lesson is for the viewers at home, the ones watching through their screens. The empty barrel is a metaphor that exists far beyond the walls of a church. It exists in charities that spend 90% of their revenue on administration. It exists in leaders who ask for your sacrifice while they build their own empires. How do you spot an empty barrel? You look for the purple silk. You look for the leaders who focus on the blessing of giving rather than the accountability of receiving. You look for the ones who tell you that hunger is a manifestation and that doubt is a demonic attack. True authority doesn't fear questions. True charity doesn't need a ring light and a camera crew to be valid. And true justice doesn't just put a villain in handcuffs. It puts bread on the table of the person he robbed. Njeri turns away from the balcony and goes back to her desk. There is work to do. A new shipment of grain is arriving at 5, and she needs to be there to count every bag. The miracles in this building are no longer supernatural. They are simple, honest, and heavy. And for the first time in 730 days, the widow's barrel is finally, truly full.